Welcome back, chess fans. Today, we are stepping into a time machine and traveling back to 1986, to the sun-drenched city of Cadiz, Spain. We are about to witness a game that embodies the absolute spirit of romantic chess, a game where material is meaningless and only the attack matters. This is a clash between Jesus Seoane Sepulveda playing the white pieces and Ignacio Prieto with the black pieces. We are looking at the King's Gambit, an opening from an era when chess was less about computers and more about courage. White begins the game with the king's pawn moving forward 2 squares to e4. This is the gold standard for attacking players. It opens lines for the queen and the bishop immediately, signaling that white wants to control the center. Black responds symmetrically, moving his king's pawn to e5, meeting the challenge head-on. Now, white plays the move that defines the romantic era, pawn to f4, the King's Gambit. White instantly offers a flank pawn to distract black's central control. The idea is simple but dangerous. If black takes the pawn, white will eventually dominate the center with d4 and attack down the file after castling. It is a gamble, risking king's safety for rapid development and attack. Black accepts the challenge and captures the pawn on f4. This is the King's Gambit accepted. White continues with knight to f3. This is the most logical follow-up. It prevents black from playing the queen to h4 with a check, which can be very annoying for white, and it begins to control the center. But black is not interested in a quiet life. He pushes his g-pawn forward to g5. This creates a solid chain of pawns on the king's side, protecting that extra pawn on f4. Now, white plays knight to c3. He is developing his pieces, bringing the cavalry into the game and keeping an eye on the d5 square. But black sees an opportunity to harass the white knight on f3. He pushes the g-pawn further, advancing it to g4. This is a sharp, aggressive thrust. The white knight on f3, which was guarding against the queen check, is now under fire and must move. White makes a bold decision. He jumps his knight forward to e5. This knight is now sitting pretty in the center of the board, looking dangerous. However, by moving the knight, the h4 square is left unguarded. Black seizes the moment instantly. He brings his queen out to h4, delivering a check to the white king. This is exactly what white usually tries to prevent in the King's Gambit. The white king is under immediate pressure. The safe squares are gone. White has to react. White blocks the check by pushing his pawn to g3. It seems like a natural defense, cutting off the queen's line of sight, but black is relentless. He captures the pawn on g3 with his f-pawn. Now the situation is heating up. The pawn on g3 is threatening to discover a check or capture the rook. Here, white makes a truly fascinating decision. Instead of panicking, he unleashes a counter-strike. White captures the black pawn on g4 with his queen. Take a moment to appreciate this position. White has ignored the massive threat on his kingside to activate his own queen. He is now eyeing the black queen on h4 and looking down the board at black's position. But black has a nasty surprise waiting. He pushes his pawn from g3 to g2, delivering a discovered check. The pawn reveals an attack from the black queen against the white king, and simultaneously, the pawn itself attacks the white rook on h1. It is absolute chaos. White must deal with the check first. He captures the black queen on h4 with his own queen. The immediate danger to the king is gone, but the threat from that little pawn on g2 remains. And now, we see one of the rarest sights in high-level chess. The black pawn on g2 captures the white rook on h1 and promotes. Black gets a new queen. So, let's take stock. The original black queen is captured by white, but a pawn has run all the way down the board to become a new queen in the corner. Black is technically ahead in material, possessing a queen and a rook against white's queen and knight, but there is a catch. That new black queen is stuck in the corner at h1, completely out of the game for the moment. White, on the other hand, has his pieces mobilized and ready to hunt. White continues his attack with queen to h5. This is a menacing move. The queen is eyeing the weak f7 square, the Achilles heel of the black position. If white can strike there, The black king is in mortal danger. Black tries to develop. He moves his bishop to d6. This prepares to bring his pieces out, but it doesn't address the immediate threat to f7. White strikes. The queen captures the pawn on f7, delivering a check. The black king has nowhere to go but to move. The king steps aside to d8. He is now uncastled, stuck in the center, and obstructing his own pieces. The white attack is picking up speed like a runaway freight train. White needs to bring more reserves into the battle. He pushes his d-pawn to d4. This opens the dark squared bishop's path and controls the center. White is not caring about the new queen in the corner. He is playing for checkmate in the center. Black tries to untangle his position by moving his knight to e7. He wants to connect his rooks and perhaps find some safety for his king. But white is relentless. He brings his bishop out to g5. This pins the knight on e7. The knight cannot move because the queen is behind it, although the king is actually the ultimate target in the area. The pressure is mounting. Every white piece is joining the party. Black develops his other knight to c6, trying to challenge the center and perhaps jump into the action. But white has a tactical sequence in mind that is purely magical. White jumps his knight to d5. Look at this centralization. The knight on d5 is a monster. It puts more pressure on the pinned knight at e7 and threatens all sorts of forks. Black sees a chance to use his isolated queen in the corner. He brings the queen from h1 all the way to e4, delivering a check. It looks like black is fighting back. He is trying to disrupt white's coordination. White calmly blocks the check by developing his bishop to e2. He doesn't even flinch. He is simply bringing another piece into the game while defending. Black checks again. The queen moves to h1. It seems black is trying to annoy the white king or force a repetition, or perhaps he just doesn't have a better plan. White moves his king to d2. The king is safe here. He steps out of the line of fire, but really, he clears the back rank. Black is running out of useful moves. He grabs the rook on a1 with his queen. White now unleashes a combination that will be remembered forever. He sacrifices his most powerful piece. Queen to e8, check. Just look at that move. White places his queen directly in the path of the black king. He sacrifices the lady to force the black king onto a specific square. The king has no choice. He must capture the queen. The black king takes the queen on e8. Now the trap is sprung. White jumps his knight to f6, delivering a check. This is a double attack, but more importantly, it forces the king to move. The king cannot go back to d8 because the knight covers it. The king has to step to f8. And now, the final curtain falls. White moves his bishop to h6, checkmate. Take a moment to admire this final picture. The black king is trapped on f8. The white knight on f6 covers the escape squares and protects the bishop. The bishop on h6 delivers the fatal blow. The black queen, way over on a1, is completely useless, watching helplessly from across the board as her king falls. It is a triumph of coordination over material. White sacrificed a rook, allowed a promotion, and finally sacrificed his queen, all to weave a mating net with two knights and a bishop. It is the perfect example of the romantic spirit, where the beauty of the idea is worth more than all the pieces on the board. What a masterpiece of aggression and precision from Jesus Seoane Sepulveda. It reminds us that in chess, activity and king safety often trump raw material count. Thank you so much for watching this incredible game with me. If you enjoyed this journey through the King's Gambit and want to see more amazing chess stories like this, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out.